Okay, folks, Friday evening, let's get our paint on. And had kind of a unfortunate thing that we better adjust this quickly here. All right. The had an unusual thing that happened. I was I'm gonna have to glue this guy back on the stand because the figures that I wanted a different pose for this particular guy, but realized I actually couldn't do four of each. I only have three of one of the poses, so we'll have five and three. But that's all right. It'll work out. It'll work out just fine. It was just normal that I was going to do two of each pose on each wagon. So we're going to put this guy right back on here, and that's a little bit unfortunate, but no biggie. Gonna take this old super glue off and put him back on. And we're gonna sit him off to the side. This will be the last figure that we're gonna paint. So where did we leave off? Well, we've got five guys completely painted, and we started as sixth one. And here's the seventh, and then eighth one is that other one. So let's finish this guy up. I think we're working on the wood on him, and we're gonna see how successful we can do this. We're gonna try this without coffee. So I know it's sometimes a challenge, but let's see how far we can go with this. You know what? I'm tired of this piece of cardboard. I think we've used it enough, and it's warped. We'll save it for when we're doing dry brushing, but let's get rid of this thing. It's kind of all warped and shit, so let's get rid of that. Let's get a fresh one. There we go. It was catching on the paint palette anyways. The paint palette has kind of grooves on the bottom, and it was catching on the edge of it, so with it being all out of shape. All right, let's see where the wood is here, the wood color, and let's get this. No painting with whiskey. No, that would be bad. That would be like two brush strokes and then a nap. Let's see. And to be honest, what I really want to work on right now is some tanks, but I'm not going to let myself do that. I want to finish these Hungarians so then we can look at what's happening next. These damn Hungarians. What the hell's the fan set to other than way too low? We got back in a summer weather today. It was in the high 70s. There we go. Let it blow. Okay. Have this switch over here. Aren't war wagons basically tanks? Nah. Nah, tanks are pretty much impervious to artillery, unless they're really light tanks, and artillery will just ruin these guys' day. Bad things. Okay, so let's get the wood color here and paint all of this early firearm. And as I like to say, now it's TGIF. At the end of the day, not at the beginning of the morning where everybody wants to be excited that it's Friday. When you're done with all the stuff you don't want to do. Now it's TGIF. I had to call up Mitch and tell him, Happy Wednesday, dude. Because he has Monday and Tuesday off, so that's his Saturday and Sunday. Then he'd just pay me back in the future. Okay. Let's add a little bit more of this core color. It's early tonight. So we'll see how far we can go. This is difficult because this is at the end of a week that I haven't gotten enough sleep at, which, well, I don't get any more sleep on the weekends, but still, I'm burned out. So we'll see if we can get some of this therapy in. So this pose I'm doing here, there's going to be 3 figures in this pose and a total of 5 figures in the other pose. So that's kind of unfortunate. I wanted 4 and 4, but I thought I had extras. I think I had exactly 8 figures, and that's how they came. They came 5 of one pose and 3 of another, so not that big deal. It's not like we're going to. Not, oh, we need a fresh white here. It's not like we're not going to mix and match them. So. Well, it's begun. It has begun. That's a new button. Okay. It asked me to enable something this day that wasn't enabled on my channel called Super Chat. I'm like, sure, yeah, whatever. Well, there's another button for it now. I don't know what that means, so. Hey, I'm just a painter. I'm new to this video thing, even though I've been doing this for several years. Some people are like really inquisitive the way technology works. I'm not one of those people. Okay, I just I want to get my painting and done, and I figured some of you guys may benefit from this. So, as far as how the sausage is made, I have no idea, no interest. It's not that I'm anti-technology. It's by the time I figure it out, technology is already, oh, well, that's how we used to do it 6 months ago. Well, 6 months ago was like the same time. Oh, no, not in technology time. Like, okay. Well, I don't get paid to keep up with that stuff, so, you know, not my thing. I sometimes wonder if people that don't do that just because it's just because they don't have a challenging enough job. I don't I don't need I don't need those kind of challenges when I get home from work. All right. Um, right. Flesh now. Oh, and I do need to find another paintbrush to do the face on. And we're gonna move his little castle here. We're not gonna get to that tonight. Let's get it out of the way. It's somewhere we're kind of bumping into it where it is, so there'll be time for that later. Guess this one will work for a face. All right, so let's get us our face mix here, which looks like we have some of the colors still active. And a little bit more over here. All right, let's bump this up. Actually, let's get some more of this color out here because it seems like you're kind of struggling with what there is here for it. Yeah, so we got to finish this figure and two other ones. And all the guys that go inside the war wagon will be done. I'm not sure if I'm going to put a guy on the ground also on the base. You know, maybe hold a spear or something like that. I may end up doing that. All right. All right, so this is where we're working. Let's add more of this to it. Okay, and on this other side, I'm gonna add some of this right here. That brush is not, it's not doing what it's supposed to. Let's see if we can't get another candidate here. Jeez, it's a big one. Trying to avoid opening another packet of them, but just to avoid some of the chaos, let's see what we got here. There we go. That one. And that one as well. Okay. I'll use up the rest of these brushes and then we're not gonna be buying these brushes anymore. I'm doing it before I'm done with them. I may just throw them all out. Here we go. This is looks like a decent one. All right. You got paint fingers and stuff like that on there. You want the stuff to be all look neat, tidy. Okay. Much better. All right. Add a little bit more of this. And then we'll add some white to it. And I hope some people come on here. It's going to be an early night for me. Don't make me watch saved videos that I haven't watched yet. I got quite a few. It doesn't seem like I can ever get to them these days. I'm going to rinse this brush and I'll be right back. Okay. Still no one. I'm going to crack open a beer. I'm kidding. It's actually a Canada Dry, 0 sugar. Oh, it's actually pretty good. Okay. Let's get it on. Like I said, hopefully we have some interaction, or we're going to go to an early bed. I'm going to be up at 5 a.m. anyways painting, so I want to get these guys done. So I really want to work on that JS2, but I want to get these figures done. You know, when you do the basing and stuff like that, you've got to wait anyways for things to dry. So that's the ideal time to go and work on something else because it doesn't really interfere with what you're doing. You know, you can either not work on something until one of the stages dries, or, well, I didn't know you were on. It wasn't showing you were on, Joe. It was showing that no one was on, like you had signed off. But yeah, you count. Working on your naked people, I'm sure, or semi-naked people. The third dynasty of Ur. Give that man a prune. Give that man a prune. So, if you end up working on a different type of project, even if it is when something's drying, then you know you're not really interfering with anything. So that's really ideal. In a perfect world, that'd be when you could do it. Let's highlight a little bit more up on his fingers. The nose. Okay, I think this guy's about done. We're gonna add the metal banding there on his. I'm not gonna call this a musket because it's not really a musket. It's not really an arquebus. It's like even prior to all that. Really prior to all that stuff. So, okay, let's. Where's metal corner? No, there's nothing alive there. Let's see. I'm not even gonna shake this. I'm going to take some of this metal that's here on the edge, and we're just going to plop that down. That should be able to work fine. Yeah, transferring this over from the Citadel bottle was not was from this type of bottle was not the way to go. I would have been better off just never doing that, but I wouldn't have discovered the magic. What exactly is it? The airbrush thinner, which is funny. It's if you feel it, it's kind of it smells a little like alcohol, very faint, but it's slippery too. So it might be some kind of personal lubricant also. I don't know, but it's not just water, so it's doing something there. And I've been really happy using it as re-wetting drops for my brush. I like to think of it as. And it gets sticky afterwards. But if I wouldn't have transferred over that paint, I would have never discovered this airbrush there, which was what they recommended for you to put into the paint bottle. In other words, to thin this down some, and then so you could pour it into something else. Actually, there were several videos that recommended several different things. The one that seemed the most credible was that one. And yeah, the whole reason to transfer it was to avoid getting a mess, avoid getting this kind of ring around the paint thing that happens every time you open this. Every time you open this, invariably there's paint that's stuck in here that keeps you from getting a good seal, and it kind of it's kind of a pain. So in order to solve that, I decided to put it on the eyedropper, but the eyedropper makes a different kind of mess. So not really a mess that it gets everywhere, but just kind of, just don't feel like I'm getting a good seal on it. So, okay, we've got the metal parts on that. All right, so we need to do his helmet because his helmet, of course, has metal on it. We are going to give this a known oil treatment. Does this guy have a sword? Oh, there it is. It's on the front. Got it. Yes, and I got an extra chat button to show things in super chat. I don't know what the hell that means, but I can't press that button because then it looks like it, apparently I can't see all of the chat, so I don't know. I'm just learning here. Okay, that's pretty much done. Let's go ahead and rinse this thing out. All right, next step. Let's, we have the little thing around his neck. This last guy had a white one and was mostly dark. Do we have a red one? Yeah, we have a, let's do red in this guy. Let's do red. So there's a little bit of a red tie-in then. I think these are all dead. They're a week old and dried out. A wet palette only gives things, keeps them wet so long. Crossing Obstacle Gaming. Mr. Cog, how are you? I assume you're a mister. Uh-oh. How about we just call you Cog? Let's see. Let's do flat red here. Happy Friday to you. I don't remember. You might be in the other part of the world, so it might actually be already Saturday to you, and you get screwed out of a day on your weekend. Okay, let's do the red here. Now let's do something a little bit different. Do we still have an active brown? No, we're about to let's go throw down an active brown. This flat earth will be fine. I'm not real particular to what it is, but we're actually going to mix the red with this brown instead of black. We're going to do that. You're fine at reading a book about Leningrad. Ooh, I know how it ends. I'll try not to spoil it for you. So, I've now read 2 memoirs, or had them read to me, as I like to say, on Audible, because that's how I get through books, is have them read to me. Because I can drive to work, etc. I can do other things other than, sitting there and reading a book. And reading puts me to sleep. Like physically reading the book, just my eyes get tired. And I've read 2 memoirs on the Eastern Front. They just both happen to be from the German point of view, and as most memoirs are, because I think the Russian stuff just became available just a few years ago, relatively. And one of the ones that I read, or had read to me, was the one about, I think it's called Tigris, and it's Otto Carius, and he was attached to the Tiger unit that was around Leningrad. That was the only Tiger unit that was in that was not. Before I say the only Tiger unit, I better be careful. The first Tiger unit that went out there and was in gray. Yeah, I need to be careful because I think there were some ones that went down to the relief of Stalingrad that was also gray. I think, or at least they're included in one of the games. I don't remember whether or not they were. But anyways, Otto Carius was up at around Leningrad. I want to say it was the 502nd. And early Tigers. That reminded me of Leningrad. So But anyhow, that's so I've had two memoirs read to me, and I don't have much of an interest in reading a third one because it just seemed very impersonal. It just almost seems like they don't seem very believable. Um, I don't know. I'm not saying they're faking it, but it's just not very. If they made a movie out of what there's in the book, it wouldn't be a very exciting movie. Let's put it that way. So, um, have I read more? I mean, a long time I read the Rudels book, Stuka Pilot, and also Panzer Battles by von Mellenthin. I thought that one was pretty good, but the next one I want to do is from the Soviet viewpoint, and hopefully it's not a huge propaganda thing, but we'll see. I got so many credits on there that I really need to do something with them before they expire. Well, I don't have that many, but I have over a dozen, over a half dozen. I think I have seven or eight. So right now, I just started a book called Normandy. I don't remember what it is, but the narrator is really really good. It's a certain Normandy one that came out maybe a year ago or whatever. So far it's pretty good. So and you're from Northern Europe, okay? Well, it's that book is keeping you up late then. Northern Europe. I wish I had the weather of Northern Europe right now. We've already started our, seems like our summer. Oh well, you'd think I'd be used to it, but you know how they say the older you get, the more you end up liking warm weather, not liking cold. I'm the opposite. I just like the summer more and more. Um, I just don't appreciate sweating when you're not doing anything. So, and I have a job that I'm frequently hot at. So, you know, yeah, not my preference. I don't really want to do that in my free time. Now, don't get me wrong, if we're at the beach or something like that, absolutely bring on the heat. But, you know, short of that, nah, not really interested in that. Unfortunately, most of the books that I'm really, really interested in aren't available on Audible because they're super, you know, specific, very niche type things. But I've done all that stuff while you know, while I did, while I've tried to do painting. You know, first music, you know, radio, CDs, talk radio, then have videos playing in the background of, you know, movies or YouTube stuff, you know, just all kinds of different stuff. Books on tape. I still call them books on tape, even though they're, well, they used to be on CD, and then they're not even on CD now. They're just, you know, downloadable. But what keeps me on track more than anything else, working on my hobbies, is what I'm doing right now. So, yeah, the last memoir that I was reading that I just finished up, it was strange. I discovered So 80% of the way through the book that I actually owned the physical book. I'd gotten the physical book, I don't know, 20 years ago, and I actually owned it, never read it. And it wasn't until I decided to get this particular one on Audible that I could have just been, have it read to me while I was flipping the pages, but it all worked out. That was strange. And I don't feel like I have that many books, but it did say it was the siege of Leningrad, about Leningrad. Well, it might not even be the siege of Leningrad. It might just be, how Leningrad was. I'm sure that's what it was about. They have some movie or whatever that's out on the siege of Leningrad that's came out a few years ago. I haven't really read about it. I haven't really looked at it. So, but it's probably not very good, as typical things are. Have you ever read anything about the Spanish Blue Division? I have a book about their artillery. Haven't started it yet. No, I have not. I know that they had some stugs that were attached to them. So they did have Spanish stugs. They might have had I don't think they had a whole battalion. They might have only had a company. But no, I don't know much about them other than they were in the Leningrad section. And they were there for many years. They were there from, I want to say mid 41. They may not have been there at the invasion, but I'm pretty sure that they got to the Soviet Union before the winter of 41. And they were there at least, they were there certainly into the 44 and stuff around Narva, the Narva bridgehead stuff and all that. But other than that, I don't know much about them. But they were in the north section, the northern section. There's my favorite thing about the northern section is that whole incident that happened with the and and it may be multiple incidents, but that all get turned into the same one. But that one incident where that one KV held up all the whole German advance, and I want to say I've read in some descriptions that it was a KV2 and some that it was a KV1, but basically it and the drive to Leningrad that was up in that area, but you're reading Osprey's Leningrad Siege Campaign book. Okay. I don't have one. Do I have one? I have the Kursk one, which of course is, trying to do a campaign book about Kursk in the Osprey fashion is a little not in enough depth. But oh, hello, Paul. How are you? Out on the other side of the world, literally, in another day. Welcome from the future, where it's Saturday. Yeah, I feel like the Osprey books are kind of a mixed bag. Um, it's almost like they're useful for something that you don't want to know a lot about, or maybe as a first stepping stone. But after that, it's like, yeah, I want to know more about it than what this is giving me. So, all right, let's add. I'm not afraid if he goes. This guy's secure in himself. He can his red can be a little pink, and he'll be all right. He'll still be able to wake up in the morning and feel okay. I don't want to add yellow to it. It's okay. It's just faded in the sun anyways, a little bit. That's pretty mild right now. I know the problem with a lot of this stuff is we want to know history that doesn't exist. You know, a lot of this stuff that we want to know as war gamers, just nobody wrote down. You know, so there's that. But I mentioned this on a video. There's on another video. There's so much information out now that wasn't available 20 years ago when I was doing World War II. Because 20 years ago, I was doing World War II, and that's all I was doing. That's all I had ever done was World War II stuff. And you know, in building models and wargaming and playing video games, all that stuff was all World War II related stuff. So that was pretty much all I did. And 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that's the stuff that's available now just didn't exist. So an example I use is I had when I was cleaning out my bin of 20 millimeter things that I've overbought, I picked up, and I know how it happened. They were probably running a sale. I'm going to say probably at Brookhurst Hobbies at the time, who carried MMS models, which are actually very nice. They're all white metal, and they have a million different parts. They're not particularly difficult to put together, but they do have a bunch of different parts. And I picked up a Panzer III-F because I wanted one that was for early Barbarossa. And to me, I always thought an F had was the first one that had the 50 millimeter cannon, but apparently some had the 37 in them as well. Apparently they were like split like half and half. So this model that I got had the 37 in it, and I was really disappointed because I wasn't going to do France. And for the Soviet Union, I'm like, man, I just thought they all used 50s. Well, some guy had done a video on one of those battles of Dubno. I want to say it was the Dubno, which Dubno is now supposedly considered the largest, by some, I should say, considered by some to be the largest engagement of tanks ever. And this was in the first few days of Barbarossa. Army Group South that pushed towards Kiev had this big attack, counterattack. You know, these guys got enveloped, all these kind of things, multiple divisions and things like that. But anyhow, this guy had done this video of this, and he had listed, I want to say maybe it was multiple people. No, this guy had done a video on it and had listed what the different, which Panzer divisions were there in this particular action, and how many Mark IVs they had, how many Panzer IIIs they had with a 50 millimeter cannon, and how many 37 millimeter armed tanks they had, and it said including Panzer IIIs. Well, you can go and the divisions that ended up getting the Czech tanks, the other tanks that used the 37 millimeter was the Czech 35 and the Czech 38, and apparently some Panzer IIIs as well. So I'm like, I want to build this Panzer III and use it in invasion of Russia, but I don't want to paint it for a division that didn't have them. So I already could extrapolate which divisions were there that supposedly had a Panzer III with a 37 millimeter gun. Again, this is wargaming stuff. Like, nobody that's writing the history gives a crap about this, other than those of us that are modelers and wargamers and so forth. And the units that got the Czech tanks, at least initially, I mean, this is 4 or 5 days after Barbarossa started, were certain divisions, like the 6th Panzer, the 7th Panzer, and that's it. I know those two for a fact, and there was, I think, 2 other Panzer divisions that ended up getting pretty much all Czech tanks. So I found out that one of the units that had to have the these Mark threes with the 37 would have been, well, assuming this guy's research is accurate. It may just be bunk as well, but I'm just going to take it that he at least went through it, and there's some chance of it being correct. Was the Ghost Division, the 11th Panzer? So that's what I'm going to paint my guys as, is the 11th Panzer. I don't know if I'm going to actually go in there and put the little symbol because it's kind of small, and I do want my German tanks to be kind of generic from the standpoint that maybe they're not tied into a certain division. I mean, I'm only going to have a handful of them anyways, but I'm probably going to go in there and look at tanks of the 11th Panzer and see what kind of numbering system that they use, because sometimes a certain unit used all white numbers, and then one of them may have used white with the reds in the center or with the black in the center. So, just something, so I don't want to have the immense freedom to do whatever I want. It's nice to kind of work within the parameters that are given to you. But again, this is stuff that wouldn't have been available 20 years ago, and or maybe it was, but it just wasn't in common finding it. But there's some great stuff on YouTube, and I'm not just talking about this stuff that we're doing. I'm just talking about there's some really good things out there. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I wanted to find out what unit used the Panzer threes with a 37 millimeter cannon. So that's what we'll do. And the interesting thing about the Panzer threes with a 37 millimeter cannon is they had dual machine guns, coax. So when they went to the 50 millimeter gun, they ditched one of the MG34s, and it was just the standard one MG34 on the right side, and on the opposite side that the gunner's on. I think that's the case on the Panzer III, that's on the opposite side. But anyhow, yeah, good stuff on the internet. There's some useful things out there. John Hanna, there's some very good Russian war programs on Amazon Prime. I've just watched 2 seasons of The Attackers about Yak 3s taking on the Luftwaffe over Poland. Huh, I haven't seen that. Yeah, I know there's a ton of Russian stuff. Um, did I start watching one? I don't know. The problem is there's just so many things to watch. When something starts to be perform less than expected, I just kind of turn it and go to something else. Like there's that one Russian movie called Panfilov's 28 or something like that, and this is some ragtag group that gets called up to defend Moscow. And I'm like an hour and a half into the movie, and like no action's happened yet, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I know there's action there, but I actually talked my daughter watching, and he's like, "Daddy, why are we watching this?" I told her, I said, "I don't know." I didn't have an answer. Yeah, it's a little too boring. I rewatched for the second time the German Stalingrad movie from '93. I saw it a long time ago, and I remember liking it a lot. I watched it a couple weeks ago, and it was amazing how many things I didn't remember of it. I'm not a really big on movies. Like I'll watch something and I won't watch it again until I've like forgotten about it. I'm the wrong person to like remember like lines and stuff from movies. And I don't rewatch things really ever. I've seen Band of Brothers, for instance, as good as it is once. I own it, and we started watching it again a few months ago. So we need to pick that up with the daughter. She enjoyed it. So the only problem with it is I got an early CD copy of it, and it does not have the option to have subtitles on it. And I put everything with subtitles because I don't understand well sometimes. So we'll just have to watch it with really loud volume. But yeah, I pretty much watch everything with subtitles all the time. And that's why I don't mind foreign movies, because they have subtitles just like every other movie has subtitles for me. But anyways, I rewatched Stalingrad. I wasn't as impressed. I was like, okay, so this is what it's about. It's kind of, it just I didn't remember the ending at all, you know. So, that's okay. So for me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to buy movies because, you know, by the time I watch it again, the whatever the format that the movie was done in is can't play anymore. So, if you buy a movie as soon as it comes out, like, oh, cool, I got it on VHS. Well, good luck finding a VHS player now. I mean, they're out there, but it's Easy Company in German, the Stalingrad movie. I don't know. It didn't really. I was really interesting though is I'd already started reading this memoir called Blood Red Snow, and it's by a German machine gunner. That pretty much his book starts. He gets called in to be part of the relief force. He gets attached. He's as a replacement to the 14th Panzer Division, and which was one of the Panzer divisions that was operating in the Stalingrad area, and that's the one with the yellow symbol or white symbol with the horse galloping over the whatever the thing is that you call that they gallop over, the hurdle. And he's a machine gunner. He's the actual machine gunner guy on a like a heavy machine gun. And his story of combat starts as a replacement when he gets sent into Stalingrad. So it's really funny. I'm reading that book about the same time that I'm seeing the rewatching the movie, the Stalingrad movie from 1993, and it's almost like the Stalingrad movie stole like the start of that movie from him because it's like the same thing. It's very. I thought it was very strange that they both started at the same time when they went in action, but yeah. But anyhow, um, didn't really enjoy the book very much. I just didn't. I didn't really care what happened to him. And it doesn't necessarily because of what country he was fighting for. I just didn't. I just didn't feel any attachment to any of the characters or anything. So yeah, but there's just so much stuff out there. There's so much stuff out there. So I'll start watching something, and if it's not like great, really the only time that I'm watching things would be like at lunchtime during the week because I'm like I'm not going to watch a movie now. I could be painting. That's a hell of a lot more useful. But apparently, there's another movie called Stalingrad that's a Russian movie that came out a few years ago. Who knows? I've seen some Russian movies, and they just seem extremely unrealistic, over the top. So, and I'm not just talking about T-34, which T-34, by the way, had great special effects. That's the whole reason to watch that movie. I don't know if there's a movie that has better special effects for tanks than that one. That was truly amazing. But the rest of the story is just garbage. But that's what we want to see. We want to see that. We want to see the stuff that we're used to seeing in black and white pictures, like in action. that's why I see the war movies, you know. Um, that's why if you have some kind of a movie like that, you either love or hate it, like Thin Red Line. You know, I don't care about the psychological damage or whatever the theme of that movie is. That's not why I want to go see the movie. You know, so I mean, it doesn't need to glorify war. It just needs to show, the way I look at it is, war movies for me are like how people are watch horror movies. People that watch horror movies, they don't want to see people murdered. I'm guessing I don't watch horror movies, but they don't want to see people murdered, but it's their this is kind of my horror movie is watching, war movies and stuff like that. I don't want the whole world to be fighting itself and people dying, but you know, it's a weird fascination. So yeah, I watched another movie that Mitch picked up. It was multi parts. That was these kids, these German kids that shows them going to war and stuff and the different things they experience. I want to say it's called Generation War, and it would seem to be okay. The problem is if you see something that's really, 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 really good, when you see something that's just mediocre, it really makes it seem kind of crummy. And the best example I'll show is like Band of Brothers. There's some episodes that were so good that if you take another episode that's kind of, it just makes it seem like, man, this was just terrible. But okay, so we need to put some hose on this guy. So what kind of a hoser is this guy going to be? Let's give him some green tights. Okay, we're not going to go super bright, but we're going to make him greenish. Rod Steiger's Waterloo is one of the best. Sit back, watch, and don't need use much gray matter. I've seen it one time. It's just not my period. I saw it one time, but that's the story of my movie watching. I usually just watch things once, but I'm not a Napoleonics guy, so maybe if I was, it would be something I would have watched multiple times. A lot of the guys in that movie were Russians, weren't they? Like the people that were the conscripts and stuff. The people they hired to do all the in the uniforms and stuff. I think I'm correct in that. So what's the name of that movie that is apparently a multi-series part movie that came out in the late 60s, and it's from a Russian viewpoint. And the way I understand it is it follows a Russian unit all the way through the war, and they used to play it all the time at Bell and Blade. Bell and Blade, where I believe it's Bell and Blade that goes to Historicon, and they have their big booth with all the war films going, and of course the only parts that they show they just show the section of the most intense action, because that's what you want to see, and the rest of the movie might be boring. But one of the movies that it shows the scene in there where this Russian group of guys that I think it's the guys that the movie follows all the way through the war. They're fighting in some German city that might have been Berlin or Dresden or something that had a subway, and there's a machine gun. There's a heavy machine gun that's in basically the subway station underground, and it's holding. And that's the problem with having my ringer on. So I never have my ringer on, and today I decided to turn it on because I was missing calls, and now I'm getting calls when I'm not expecting to have any. So I don't know if you guys even heard that, but anyhow, so they're in this subway station underground, and this MG, this German MG, is holed up in the end of the train car, and just causing all kinds of hell to them. And the Russians end up bringing a 76 millimeter dual purpose crash boom and a tank gunner, rolling it down the steps and give them a round of HE and blasted that thing to kingdom come. You know, it's short, at point blank range, basically. But that's some kind of series that came out in the late 60s. I'm sure it had a name. I'm sure it's all propaganda-ish. As a matter of fact, I think that movie also had another section where these two tanks knock each other out, and the two tank crews went out in the middle of the battlefield and like duked it out in hand-to-hand combat. You know, and you see that, like, you got two tanks, like a Panther and a T-34 or whatever the hell they were. They knocked each other out, and the tank crews both bail out of their vehicles, but they're close enough to each other. They're, you know, 100 yards from each other or even closer than that, and they charge each other and get into hand-to-hand combat with the tank crews. Oh man, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Let's see. All right, I need to take a little bathroom break, and I will be right back. Okay, we're back. And that wasn't all the bathroom. That was just me trying to take care of that phone call. Phone, another phone, of course. no big deal. Just something I just needed to take care of. So, mass formations were Slavs, Yugoslavians, and Russians. Okay, cheap labor. Yeah, I don't know what the name of that Russian film is, but you get to see all the action sequences from all those little things when you go to his booth. I think it's Bell and Blade. I'm thinking that's who it is. Okay, so we did the first color of the green on here. So let's add some more. Let's add some more on here. But yeah, I really like the Eastern Front stuff. But oh, I know what I saw recently. White Tiger. And if you look at their reviews, people loved it. I don't know. Maybe I'm the most difficult film critic ever, but I thought it sucked. I thought it was. I know it's based on some poem or something else or some short story or something. It's not exactly a memoir or anything, but yeah, I didn't really care for that one. Especially the ending. It was like, I don't know. Sometimes we'll see a movie and it just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it's I've just never done the drugs that the people that made the movie are on. I'll just call. I'll just write it off to that. You know. Okay. Maybe a little. Maybe highlight a little bit more. Give him a little bit more oomph. And like I said earlier, once I'm done with this guy, I got two guys left to do, and all the war wagon crews are done. So we can start putting those puppies together. It's going to be an interesting challenge because I don't want to put them with the base on there. I want to just cut it all off and just leave the 2 feet and glue the 2 feet down there. And no, I'm not going to pin them down with drilling a hole and putting a hole through the war wagon. I'll just make do. I just don't want them sitting on this big slab of white metal that they seem to be sitting on. So, there's a Finnish film about their retreat from Russian front. The Finns were formidable for the size of their nation. Oh, absolutely. Well, the Finns didn't retreat that far. They also didn't advance that far either, compared to everything else. I don't think the Russians made it to Helsinki. I think they like signed a deal before that happened. I could be wrong, but yeah, the Finns were badass. You know, well, it's like if you just attack a bunch of rednecks. They're gonna shoot back. Rednecks that can ski, skiing rednecks. All right, let's see. Let's get the old bronze out. Is that it? Nope, that's gold. There it is. I've actually never replaced this, which is amazing because I've used this for 15 years constantly. This is a very common color in the armies if you're doing medievals and stuff like that. And I take a liking to using this for the sword hilts and things like that. So This thing's going strong. Okay. All right, now what color belt and scabbard are we going to do for this guy? What did we do on this other guy? We did like a medium to dark brown. So let's use the one I didn't do the other day, which is kind of the greenish color there. It's it's not this one. It's this one. I think this one actually might be Russian brown. Yep, that's what we're going to do. I wouldn't call this any kind of brown, but what do I know? Yeah, this is definitely a green, not a brown. Okay. Love those coat the arms paints. If only there was a store I could walk in to get them. Paint this here. Yeah, winter's definitely on its way out here. If you guys watched the Q&A the other night, you notice how loud it was. We had to have both of the ACs running. Well, that guy's in a very loud vehicle that just drove by. It's not like I'm right on the road. It's probably some short dude that just wants to be heard. Been painting the Gupta Cataphracts cavalry for my classical Indian. They're pure swine to do. Look like mostly plate till you start painting them. Then you find a lot more than was at first obvious. You must be talking about the Z series figures from Museum. That's what I'm guessing. Those came out recently, and I'm looking at them like it's supposed to be classical Indian Army, but they're cataphracts, and I'm like, that's not in any of the Army lists. So I'm thinking, maybe that's something you could have used for a later period, like for the Rajputs or something like that. The problem with my Rajputs is I already have them built. I already have a Rajput army, even though they use the wrong figures. Well, they're the ones that Essex gave me with them, but they're definitely the Mughal cavalry looking guys. But yeah, I saw those the Z series for Museum, and they look like beautiful figures. But I'm like, okay, there's no cataphracts or any kind of even knights or any kind of that impetuous type of cavalry for the Indians of that period in there. So yeah, they're the Z list and can use them in Art de la Guerre. Okay, so Art de la Guerre has cataphracts, huh? Okay. Okay, let's get crazy. So, Art de la Guerre. I'm not going to say anything bad about Art de la Guerre because you play Art de la Guerre, and it's going to get taken out of context. But I was thinking about playing that at one point, and kind of became dissatisfied with something pretty important about it. So, If it's in Art de la Guerre, it's probably in here. So this is the DBM books, which I actually got these for myself for Christmas, and I haven't even opened them. I had book 4. I added 1, 2, and 3 as well, and it's just for extra ideas. But let me go over here to Classical Indian and see if they're in there. In here, let's see here. I suspect they are. Gupta, huh? There it is. Replace chariots with lancers on armored horses after 320 AD. All. They're irregular cavalry superior. So after 320. And the DBA list doesn't give you that option. Irregular cavalry superior. See, even if they gave you that option, that would just be treated as they'd be treated as cav. They wouldn't be treated as cataphracts. You know, in the game, that's what they would be treated as. So, okay, cool. So that's what the figures are, huh? 320. So 320 to 545 is when those guys would be useful. Okay. They can be used if you use a Gupta list. Gupta. Yeah, that's good to have other options of ways to play the army. The French rules, as they're referred to by many. Yeah, I like the Indian armies. You might even see some of them in action in our game next week. More cavalry, less elephants, and you drop the medium cavalry, mediocre. So army's got more punch. Okay. Well, I like the paint elephants, but I don't really like them. You know, well, I don't know how they are in Art de la Guerre. I watched several videos on Art de la Guerre that are out there, and there were some things, some mechanics that I thought were kind of cool. But can't remember if Art de la Guerre has skirmishers and stuff that shoot at a distance. They may. Yeah, I care more about painting than the actual rules. The rules just make me be able to use the stuff that I painted in combat. But somebody asked me that a while ago. Say, you more of a gamer than a painter? I guess I'm more of a painter because I can always game on the computer. I can always pay, if I want to play a medieval game, I could always play Field of Glory or something like that on the computer. And it's not the same. Yeah, it's better with miniatures, but I could still get some gaming done. But I'm more of a painter. I think than I would have never gotten into this game if there was if I couldn't paint the figures for it, I wouldn't be interested. So, and I do wish that DBA had more detail, but I don't want necessarily to paint more figures, and I wish the combat had more detail and the conforming wasn't so abstract. The contacting and conforming is really abstract. I wish there was more of your time was used in the combat aspect, which is common sense to most gamers. We're used to doing adding and subtracting for this, that, and the other. I just don't want a ton of troops. And there is a way to play, for instance, Art de la Guerre with less points, but well, at this point, with as much as I've put into learning these games, I'd just as likely come up with my own rules than I would just learn yet another set, which I don't really have an interest in coming up with my own rules because that's just going to keep me from painting. So, which is where my big appeal is. It's not like I'd sell them, you know. It's not like I'd come up with rules and then charge for them. So that's not my interest in it. So my friend Paul Alba loves painting and hardly plays. He gets more satisfaction putting really well painted figures on the table. Yeah, his vehicles are his vehicles. I told him I wouldn't let anybody use those tanks. I wouldn't let anybody use those tanks. They're too nice. That's maybe a bit extreme. I would not paint these things at all if I knew. So, and the other thing is, and I'll use his painting as an example. His tanks are so detailed that there's no way I would play a game that wasn't uber detailed with those vehicles. Like for instance, if you went through all the effort to paint the vehicles like he did, and played a game like Flames of War, I just think that's just like a disservice. If in my opinion, people can do whatever they want, but if I'm spending that much time on these figures, I want them to last a while on the tabletop while I look at them. Not just, okay, roll a d6, see if they die. Okay, they're dead. Take them off. It's like, what? You don't even roll for hit locations on the vehicles? No, it's all. I'm like, yeah, that's not for me. That's not geared for this guy right here. So, but yeah, his vehicles are beautiful. But he worked on all kinds of things at once. I can't work that way. I can't work on multiple things at the same time. Nothing would get done. He had one scene where he must have had 300 or 400 vehicles on his table, and they were all in different stages of being finished. I just have to throw them all away and start over. I just wouldn't even know where to begin. And don't get me wrong, I found my 20 millimeter thing collection I have, and I have all kinds of things like that as well. But I think I'm going to go about it methodically. Like that's why I was working on my Russians first, and when they're done, I'll go to the Americans, and then we'll do the Germans last. And we'll do it one vehicle at a time, kind of thing. But I have some kits that are half finished, some are half painted. It's just like, the hell happened? Yeah, but his vehicles are beautiful. That's actually what kept me from stopping to put on games. at shows is I had an bad experience, and I don't remember exactly what happened, other than I remember it was a bad experience. But I was putting on a game, and you know, at a show, and some guy showed up and wanted to just what's the correct term? Manhandle the figures, but it's not manhandle, but just be very rough with them. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, this is causing me stress, and I don't really want my hobby that's supposed to be therapy to make me go into therapy instead of solving stuff. So here is, we got to put some null oil on this helmet, but other than that, let's see if we can find a spot where. I'm the world's worst about taking photographs. No, I'm sure there's somebody out there better, worse than me, but this is him. Let's go ahead and get some null oil on him so we don't forget. And then we'll do the highlighting after that dries out. Probably tomorrow morning, what have you. I can't for the life of me remember what that's called. When somebody just manhandles, grabs things just like a thug. Like, no, I don't need that shit in my life. There's a name for it. I just don't remember what it is. Okay. Well, now we're out of drink. All right, let's go get some more. And this, of course, is non-caffeine, non-alcoholic. Be right back. Okay. Interesting story about Paul. I commented on one of his videos a long time ago when I first found out about him. And I think I mentioned it earlier today. I pretty much watch everything with subtitles. So subtitles were turned on. And Paul has an extremely heavy accent from my viewpoint. It's very difficult to understand what he's saying sometimes. And he's from Scotland, I hope. And the subtitles were turned on. And it was really interesting what YouTube thought he was saying. That was actually pretty hilarious. So, yep. All right. Where were we? Next guy. Next guy up. It's the same figure. I've only been on for an hour and a half. Wow. Seems like it's been longer than that. Well, it is 9:30 here. I'm for sure going to be on another half hour for sure. We'll see how long we can go. Because that means the longer I go tonight, the less I've got to do in the morning. I want to get these last two guys done so we can start putting these war wagons together. I know everybody wants to see that, including me. So, that means we'll have to spray these things down with sealer. And it's supposedly a rainy day tomorrow. So are we going to have a fiasco with the dull coat? I've never had one before. We'll see. I'm not scared. Paul's accent isn't too strong when you compare it to a Galswegian, yeah, somebody from Glasgow, or an Aberdonian, somebody from Aberdeen. Okay. Well, for those of us that are uneducated here in the States, some accents are really easy to understand, and some of them are not so much. But that's okay. If I was exposed to it more often, it would be easier to. We have people in this country that are difficult to understand. Definitely. Okay. So, now let's show you guys what I got so far. Where's my little block? I have this little white foam block I like to put the guys on. Where did it go to? Here it is. Whee! One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, here's 6. Hey, I could just cheat and say, I'm only going to put 3 shooters in each war wagon, and I'm done. Nah, we're going to go ahead and do them all, so. And they haven't been sealed yet, so they look a little bit better when they're sealed. And they also look better in photographs, not necessarily in whatever video this format this is in, because I'm maxed out at 720. I can't get any better than that due to YouTube's policies. Even though I bet I've got 5G to the max. I do. I've got full bars and I'm in 5G all the way. So yeah, that's what these guys is. So we're gonna mix and match them and put them in each wagon. And guys that are similar won't be together. Like for instance, I can already tell you that this particular figure here will not be in the same one as this one, because they are similar looking, just like these two red ones won't be in the same, this one, and, oh, hold on. Yeah, this one and this one won't be in the same one. So gotta mix it up a little bit. So. Some of your southern states films, I need subtitles on, even they're supposed to be speaking English. What about the people up north? Those are the ones that are the trouble. Yeah, I put subtitles on everything, so it's not that big of a deal, you know? Okay. What color overcoat are we going to make this guy? Let's, what do we have? We did a light colored tunic. We did a dark one. What if we did, let's do one that's gray. Do we have one that's gray? I do not have one that is gray. All right, let's get a gray one going. Let's use this gray that has, yeah, we'll use that one. Yeah, I put subtitles on anyways because there's different accents, and I tend to watch things that are pretty complicated, and I like things spelled out. So you never have to rewind it if you use subtitles. So, and I like foreign films, honestly. I like films where you don't know the actor. It's like, oh, him again. Oh, well, I know how he's going to be, you know. So. Oh, better shake this up some more. Might have to put one of those little mixing balls. No. Not today. Running out of space here, but I only got 2 more figures, then I can replace this. Yeah, some accents, I don't know if it's just from us in the States, but some accents are really easy for myself in particular to understand. Some accents from the UK are very easy for those for myself to understand. So, many accents eat the endings of words and don't pronounce them all. It's very broken and it's hard to make out sometimes, but that's okay. We put the old subtitles and everything makes sense. So you from Scotland as well? That pre-feudal Scots is on my short list of armies to do. They might even be next. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I like the makeup of that army, so I may go ahead and do them, but and that'll give me an opportunity to buy some scotch and drink that instead of whiskey. You know, when I'm playing them. Of course, that's a little ways out, but you know, that's always good. Good to get into the spirit of the army, even though it hadn't been invented yet. Okay, excellent. Yeah, I got some nice figs for them that I'm really happy with, so I wouldn't mind painting those guys up. And they mix in well with Mitch's Normans. So good to have an army that is useful for opponents that your opponents also happen to have. So might as well be a team effort. You have a medieval Scots army in 25 mil for 1420 to 1429 in France. Okay. Yeah, because they fought with the French, or at least they were allies. I don't know if they fought side to side. Well, I guess they were. If you told me that they were in France. Yeah, I don't have them because Mitch already has the what they call the Scots Common, so he already has that one. So there's no point in me building it as well. Now, if he built an army that I absolutely had to have, yeah, I'd still build it. But you know, I'd just build a different army. No reason us to be fighting over the same thing. Scotland. What do I have that comes from Scotland? I want to say, oh, 15 millimeter QRF is from Scotland, aren't they? I think QRF is from Scotland. And Zeiston's from Scotland. What else is Scottish? Do we still have Hendrick's gin, or did we run out of it? If we ran out, we got to buy more Hendrick's gin. That's good stuff. That ginger beer that Mitch loves, Krabby's, that's from Scotland. What else? That may be it. So the only thing they import here are toys from you guys and alcoholic beverages. Hey, that works. Sold. Some of my favorite things right there. There's a guy that I follow. He's a painter, and he's from Scotland, and he's a really good painter. He's got some stuff in. I think he's using Lion Rampant, and I think he's doing it in 28 millimeter. He's a really, really good painter. But his name, I don't know how to even pronounce his name. It's insanely long. But he's an excellent painter. I want to say he's an Ian somebody or another. I can't remember what his name is, but he's an excellent painter. We've got some really beautiful 28 millimeter figures. Yeah, I don't know how to spell his name, and I just pronounce it wrong. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to mispronounce. I speak two languages, so I appreciate the the interest in wanting to pronounce things correctly. So, I get it. So, Zeiston Grendel, and there's a small company in Fife that does lovely 28 millimeters. I think it's Shiltron. Okay. Isn't there a Claymore Castings? I think there is a company called Claymore Castings. It would make sense that a company called Claymore Castings would be in Scotland. I'm just not really familiar with the 25 millimeter scale stuff and larger because I don't paint that scale, and I mean, if I did, I would, I'd know them all because I'd be surfing on the internet for, who makes this and who makes that, and but yeah, I don't paint that scale, so otherwise I'd still be working on my first two figures. It would just take too long. I got to do those big figures justice. So, instead of spending 2, 3, 4 hours on a figure, you're talking about spending 9 to 12 hours. I don't have the time for that. I'd like to play a game with some figures in it. So, not a cost issue for me, just a manpower issue. So, it used to be many years ago, I didn't really care for the look of most 28 millimeter figures, but that's kind of changed now. There's some really beautiful things out there. So, okay, it's had a little bit of white to this, and we should be about done with it, with this jacket. No, the bigger the figure, the easier it is to paint, or so I find. See, I'd think it'd be the opposite for me, because the bigger it is, the more detail I have to give it. And I could do it. I mean, I'm painting without my contacts in, and I'm basically painting with a natural plus 6.5. Which I didn't even I've only done that in the last couple of years. So, because my close in vision's not been what it used to be. But yeah, if these things were bigger, I'd have to, give them more detail. Or I feel like I would have to give them more detail. And, you know, it's too late. I got too many 15s, you know. And DBA, I don't think there's not very many people that do it in 28 millimeter. So, okay. So his jacket is done. We got sleeves. We got face. So what color sleeves are we gonna do on this guy? Let's see. Can we get away with like a light blue maybe? Let's try a light blue. Let's see what we got. And let's not use the same one we always use. We always cop out and use the same damn light blue. It doesn't even have to be light blue. It could just be something like this. This is dark blue gray. I don't know about dark anything with this, but you can paint 25s quicker than I pan 15s, and I need my strength 3.5 painting glasses and only need normal readers for the larger scales. So when my close in, I'd always painted with contacts in, so in 20/20 vision, and then when my close in vision started going, which is really weird for somebody that's nearsighted their whole life to be too close to something where they can't see it. It's really a mind screw. So I ended up picking a pair of these 325s up, and yeah, that worked for a little bit, and then it still wasn't. It wasn't good enough. So I think on a whim, just took off my glasses, and I'm like, holy shit! I had built-in magnifying glasses, and I'd never been using that my whole life. The things we could have done. Right. So where is this color? Here we go. And you know what I can't really do anymore? I can't stay up late. I'm absolutely, I mean, I remember when I was painting my World War II stuff in the late 90s, I'd stay up till like 2 or 3 in the morning. I can't do that shit now. But then I would have never been able to wake up at 5, you know, and I do that like there's no tomorrow all day long, every day of the week. So I will be back. Well, I'll be back at 5. I mean, I'll wake up at 5 and I'll have breakfast and I should be on by hopefully 5:30. Make coffee. Make coffee, turn in a couple turns, games I'm running with Field of Glory. Playing that Field of Glory Medieval. Entered the first tournament. Yeah, it's just something else to do. It doesn't take the place of this. You know, it'll never take the place of this because half of the fun of this is just the interaction with other humans. You know, and you don't get that when you're playing a video game. It's just not the same. All right, we're going to do the sleeves in this color. And we're going to come down here. You had to paint. You had a paint marathon last year to get a Mongol army ready for a tournament in Glasgow, with only a month to paint up 80 figures. Holy moly. That's over 2 figures a day. It could be done, but you better be retired. Mongols, huh? So you paint an army of Mongols. How'd they do in Art de la Guerre? They get their ass kicked in that too? Or does that represent Mongols pretty well? I don't know. Do light horse like Mongols shoot at a distance in that game? I feel like they've got to represent the game correctly. Now, the funny thing is that in Armadi, if I can remember correctly, the Mongols are actually one of the power armies. Okay. Base coat of that's done. Let's add more of this core color to it. They're the new museum figures, not the Z range. These aren't illustrated on the catalog. Oh, so they were 15 millimeter, not 28. They were the new museum figures, not the Z range. These aren't illustrated on catalog. Won 2 games, drew 2, and lost 2. Wow. Seems like a lot of draws. Maybe you guys had like a limited time amount of time. I've only had one draw in almost 2,000 games of DBA. So yeah, I don't want to draw. I They did well against armies with heavy knights. Sure, yeah, they do okay that in they don't do well against in DBA. They don't do well against like a bunch of spear heavy foot. They just can't deal with heavy foot at all. And there's not enough space on the table to have them be able to do what they do to give them the advantage and circle and stuff like that. Usually, the heavy foot could just push them against the edge of the table. So, yeah, I'll take light horse against knights any day. Absolutely. The draws were when both armies had been demoralized. Okay. So you guys were able to play a tournament last year? I guess they can lock up England, but not Scotland. Maybe it was before lockdown last year. I know somebody posts on one of the groups all the time, and he's like, day 60 of third lockdown. I'm like, holy crap. That's um that's pretty extreme. January before lockdown. Okay. Yeah, our first show is late April. So we didn't get any shows last year. And they canceled our April show already, and Historicons in July probably won't happen. It's still up in the air, but I don't think it's going to go on. I think we're I think we're probably several years away from a show, but what do I know? I'm not worried about it. We still get to play every week, so still get make videos for you guys. We make them for us too. It's not like it's some slave labor or something like that. They're fun to do. Even for the people that just show up to play. Because I'm doing all the legwork with the video work and editing and all that, so, you know. But they're fun to do. Okay, it's 10 o'clock. I think I'm going to call it a night. I'm tired. It's not that it's 10 o'clock, but I'm tired. So, and I got to be up in 7 hours anyways, or else. You don't want to see me on a day where I don't get my paint session in the morning. I am not happy. So, we were supposed to have shows planned for September when countries been vaccinated. Yeah. Well, the vaccine here isn't making any difference. People are still wanting to keep everybody locked down with or without it. So, I don't see a big incentive to take the vaccine if they're just gonna not make a difference to any of it. But oh well, I'm just one person. It may be a while before we go to a show, but it's all right. My main attraction to go to a show is to meet people. You know, I don't particularly want to meet everybody when I can't hear anybody without a mask or anything. I'll just assume wait until this is all over with. You know, so. But anyhow, I can't complain. You guys will still, hey, Rick, there he is, lurking Rick, putting Legos together while you're listening to some idiot paint figures. Anywho, this is where we're at. This is what's left of the Hungarians. So I still have 2 units of knights I can do that aren't deep. I don't think I'm going to get around to them. I think I just always use the Hungarians with these deep knights and call it a day. I've got the other ones if I want to, but I'm more excited about starting my next project, whatever that may be. But yeah, good night, guys. And we'll see you guys in the morning or your afternoon, whenever the heck that is. Because man, it is super late in Europe. I don't know how in the heck you guys are still awake. But anyhow, good night or good morning to you. And happy painting, happy gaming. Talk to you guys soon. Good night. Bye bye.